Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today with my colleague, Senator Collins, in support of the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriations bill before us. I first begin by commending the chairman for her extraordinary work, her thoughtful, careful consideration of all these issues, and her willingness to include priorities for members on both sides. And as always, she did this in a fair, considerate, and transparent manner. Along with the staff, they did a remarkable job. So I thank her for her leadership and for her consideration. And now, as a result of the budget agreement, we have a higher allocation, an allocation that will allow us to make more responsible investments in key transportation and housing initiatives that will help grow our economy, create jobs, strengthen neighborhoods, and better meet our affordable housing goals throughout the country. We need to improve housing stability for our most vulnerable citizens, and this allocation will allow us to preserve HUD's housing and homeless assistance programs, which are vital to our nation's security and the progress and opportunity for all of our people. Over half of HUD's rental assistance goes to support someone who is elderly or disabled or both. So these programs are particularly important for the seniors and for disabled Americans who need the kind of security that only adequate housing can give. And without these programs, frankly, many of these individuals would be homeless or paying more than half of their income in rent alone and be unable to support the other basics of life, food and clothing and just basically getting around. Overall, this bill makes important contributions towards improving the safety of our roads in another area of our responsibility, transportation, and helping communities better connect people to jobs and housing opportunities. And that's often overlooked, that housing is critical in every aspect, particularly being able to get and maintain a job, and that certainly is something that we want to encourage. These investments can serve as a catalyst for economic development also, enhancing the community, preserving community assets, allowing federal resources to leverage many times over, in some cases, private resources and local resources. Among the critical transportation investment this bill provides, $16 billion to the Federal Aviation Administration, fully funding the agency's budget request for air traffic control, safety oversight, and its facilities and equipment. Again, so much of our commercial activity depends upon a solid aviation infrastructure. We are filling their request, ensuring that they have adequate infrastructure, particularly when it comes to air traffic control, in an age in which there are technological revolutions causing them to reinvest constantly in better equipment and better preparation. For the past 3 years, in fact, maintenance on the agency's basic infrastructure has been deferred, so these air traffic control challenges could be met and could be fully funded. But that's not a sustainable long-term strategy. The bill in front of us today, with the leadership of the chairman, puts the FAA back on track, and we want to keep it on track. As the chairman pointed out, in the transportation area, $600 million for the Tiger program, which funds local solutions to transportation problems. One of the commendable aspects, and there are many of this program, is these are localities coming to the Department of Transportation with specific requests that they know will help their economy, that will help move people and goods and services and improve the competitiveness of not only the locality, but the nation. In addition to that, $41 billion in highway grants and another $8.6 billion in transit formula grants that states and local governments rely on every year. And in addition to these provisions, the bill makes strong investments in Amtrak and rail safety, providing $50 million for rail safety grants and targeted new investments in the Northeast Corridor, which was on the major thoroughfares of commerce and travel in our country. It also allows the Federal Railroad Administration to hire 84 new inspectors and safety staff to address the safety transportation of passengers and energy products. And we have seen repeated incidents of tragic accidents caused by outdated equipment, caused by many factors. We hope with this legislation we will not only reduce those, but eliminate them. And we've also seen accidents in the center of the United States and the far west, where products were being transported by rail, and there were problems there too. Again, these energy products are necessary for the whole economy, and we need to be on the job inspecting to ensure that they're moving safely through all of our communities. These investments are necessary. They're necessary for safety, they're necessary for efficiency, and they're necessary to build a kind of transportation system that support jobs and economic growth. I think most people, and most people back home certainly understand the connection between good infrastructure, good jobs, and a prosperous economy. They get it, and this legislation gets it also. At the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the bill makes important investments in our communities. And as the chairman's pointed out, the Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG, is an extraordinarily effective tool for local governments to spur innovation and economic investment. And again, as she indicated, it comes from the bottom up, not the top down. It's mayors and city councils and local planning agencies who are able to utilize this money in combination with other resources to fund projects that make their community more effective and more efficient, and it's based upon their perspective, not our perspective, and it's a very efficient and very, very helpful program. It gives communities the tools to address their ailing infrastructure problems, and it brings critical services to many who need it the most. The legislation also includes additional resources for affordable housing production through the HOME program, an investment we know is necessary as our nation faces a lack of affordable housing nationwide. The bill also protects some of our most vulnerable citizens by providing critical resources to prevent and end homelessness. Among veterans and youth in particular, this bill provides an additional 10,000 vouchers to move us closer to eliminating homelessness among our nation's veterans. Just a few days ago, we celebrated Veterans Day, but we can't celebrate it one day a year. We have to celebrate it every day, and one way we do that is to put the resources so that every veteran, we hope, can achieve affordable, decent, safe housing. And that way, we celebrate their service every day, and this bill tries to do that. We've already seen success in this regard, about a 33% reduction in veterans' homelessness since 2009, but it's not good enough. There's still work to be done, and that's a commitment that Senator Collins and I share, and her leadership has helped us move forward to achieve that objective. And for youth experiencing homelessness, this is another phenomenon. She spoke fairly eloquently about the fact that we're able to target resources to help some of these programs for young people to find homes. And particularly the point about young people who are aging out of foster care. We have a fairly substantial system to help young people till they reach their adulthood. And after that, it seems to go away. And so with resources, we are helping children through forced homes, and then suddenly they have to go and they're on their own. This legislation is going to help them make a transition, at least have the housing they need so that they can use their skills productively for the benefit of everyone. It also helps us improve coordination across the government so that these young people don't fall through the cracks. Some of it's resources, and some of it's just working together cooperatively and in a governmental-wide approach, and the legislation helps encourage that. As I said, and as I'm repeating what the chairman said so well, is, homelessness is a barrier to education, employment, and opportunity. If you have to move 3 or 4 times a year and you're a young child, your education is going to be very challenging from school to school to school. If you're a person who doesn't have an address or moves frequently, how do you get that call back for the job interview if they can't find you and you can't find them? All of this instability can be significantly reduced and opportunity better achieved if we have dependable housing. And that's at the essence of our proposal today. So it applies to youth, it applies to families, it applies to a whole span of Americans. And again, let me thank the senator for her leadership in crafting this bill. On the whole, it achieves a balanced compromise that responds to priorities of the members of this chamber within the allocation we received. We don't have unlimited resources, so we had to figure out innovative ways to deliver better results with what we have, and I think we've gone a long way in doing that. We also have to continue to look to the future, making smart investments today that will help us build a much better tomorrow, that we have better transportation systems, better housing options, and again, this legislation does that. As with any legislative proposal, there are aspects of the legislation that could be improved. I hope we can improve them going forward. There are provisions, for example, with respect to the safety of double 33 trailers, which is already passed the Senate on a bipartisan basis. Those are issues that we can and we must work on as we go forward, but overall, this proposal, I think, does a great deal to respond to the needs of the American public. And again, let me thank the chairman and say it's very challenging but very enjoyable to work with her. We also have, very quickly, an omnibus we must prepare. So we're literally going from the floor to meet with our colleagues, coming back, and hopefully we can pull this all together so that we will have the opportunity to present to the Senate a bill that is thoughtful and achieves the needs of our people.